He was one of the most popular prime minister of the country who served for 31 years for three kings. During those years, he made some remarkable changes like developing trade and industry, abolishing slavery, developing different parts of the country, bringing postal services into practice for the first time, and also commissioning iconic infrastructures like Tharara, Bagdarwar, and Teku Bridge. Overall, he was the man of courage, bravery, and intellect. But sadly, his life took a tragic turn. Life, filled with bizarre twists and turns, like a story can only be seen in the movies, this is a tale of Bhimsen Thapa. Bhimsen Thapa was born in August 1775 at Peoplethok of Gorkha district. His grandfather, Bir Bahadur Thapa, was an army in Prithvinarayan Shah's battalion. He had a son, Amar Singh Thapa, who was the father of Bhimsen Thapa. Amar Singh Thapa had total of 5 sons: Bhimsen Thapa, Nayan Singh Thapa, Bhaktawar Singh, Amrit Singh, and Ranbir Singh. He also had 2 stepbrothers, Ranbam and Ranjawar. At the age of 11, Bhimsen Thapa came in contact with the royal palace for the first time, where he held his ceremony Brata Bandha with the Crown Prince Rana Bahadur in Gorkha district. This was the life-changing moment for both of them, as they would develop a hand of friendship that would last their entire lives. In those days, significant position like a prime minister, a privilege to serve as a hand of the king, only belonged to someone who shared the royal blood. Bhimsen Thapa, however, attained this power regardless of his non-royal blood. He was only a king's personal bodyguard. So how did he do it? To understand this, allow me to map out the family tree of the king whom he served in the beginning of his career. As always, the tree begins with the godfather. Prithvinarayan Shah had 2 sons, Bahadur Shah and Pratap Singh Shah. They were both married. Bahadur Shah was married to Vidya Lakshmi Devi, who was unable to bear any child. No son, no daughter. Pratap Singh Shah had 2 wives, Maiju Rani Maneshwari Devi and Rajendra Raja Lakshmi Devi. He, together with his second wife, had a son, whom he named Rana Bahadur Shah. Now, here's what you need to understand. The death of Pratap Singh Shah, who was the current ruler of Gorkha, gives Rana Bahadur Shah to be a rightful successor of the throne. But he was only 2.5 years old, so to take over the existing regime, Queen Raja Lakshmi Devi, the wife of Pratap Singh Shah, comes forward and rules for a few years. And when she dies, Bahadur Shah makes his move. This continues to happen until Rana Bahadur Shah becomes of an age. Now coming to that, Rana Bahadur spent his entire youth in pampered luxury, and when he grew up, the spoiled prince did not have any idea how to run the country or his life. When he became of an age, he began to exercise power to reconstitute the whole government system. He first started by ordering imprisonment of Bahadur Shah in 19 February 1797 and then executing him on 23 June 1797. He fell in love with a Maithili Brahman widow, Kantivati, and gave birth to Grivan Yuddha Bikram Shah in 1797. However, that same year, Queen Kanta Devi contracted tuberculosis, and it was advised by physicians that she performed ascetic penances to cure herself. To make sure that Grivan succeeded to the throne while Kanta Devi was still alive, Rana Bahadur abdicated the throne in the favor of their son on 23 January 1799, placing his first wife, Raja Rajeshwari, to take the regent. And Rana Bahadur was only 23 by then. He then joined his Sikh wife Kanta Devi with his second wife Subarnaprabha in ascetic life. It was around this time Bhimsen Thapa began to serve as the chief bodyguard of Rana Bahadur Shah. Meanwhile, Queen Kanta Devi was at the brink of her demise, and when it happened, King Rana Bahadur Shah had a mental breakdown. He started destroying temples, blaming gods for her death. He deposited feces and remains of dead animals in the temples. He also tortured physicians and astrologers, blaming for her death. If it wasn't enough, he attempted to reassert the royal authority, but failed, because most of the government was not on his side. So he was forced to flee to the British-controlled city in India of Varanasi in May 1800. As Rana Bahadur Shah's bodyguard and advisor, Bhimsen Thapa also went to Varanasi with him, where he got an opportunity to study the Indian native states and the growing power of East India Company and their motives. Governor General Richard Wellesley had established British protectorate system, and Bhimsen Thapa was alarmed that Nepal could share a similar fate. He pressed the ex-king Rana Bahadur Shah to return to Nepal and reign the country himself. Meanwhile, his wife Raja Rajeshwari had already left Varanasi and entered the borders of Nepal on 26 July 1801 and slowly made her way to the Kathmandu with the aim of taking over the regency. There are a lot of internal politics that was happening at the time. Let's say due to a treaty of commerce and alliance signed between Nepal and East India Company, Captain Knox got his first resident in Nepal. The main objective of Knox's mission was to bring the trade treaty in 1792 into full effect and to establish a controlling influence in Nepalese politics. Getting the wind of it almost after the 8 months of Knox's residency, Queen Rajrajeshwari finally managed to show her regency back on 17 December 1802. Queen Subarnaprabha Devi, the second wife of Rana Bahadur Shah, took over the regency while he was in exile in Varanasi. Queen Rajrajeshwari made a return and took it over as a rightful queen. And there was a sort of conflict going on in the court. And Knox tried to take the advantage of the situation and sided with Subarnaprabha. Getting the wind of this matter, Queen Rajrajeshwari dissolved the government and elected new Prime Minister Damodar Pandey. Seeing this, Knox left the Kathmandu to reside in Makwanpur, and she got Subarnaprabha and the members of her faction arrested. The humiliation caused by this prompted the Governor General Richard Wellesley to recall Knox to India and suspend diplomatic ties. Rana Bahadur Shah and his men proceeded towards the Kathmandu. Later, Damodar Pandey and his men were arrested in Thankot and later executed. The post of the Prime Minister was later given to Bhimsen Thapa. After Rana Bahadur's reinstatement of power, he started to extract vengeance who tried to keep him in exile. He started with Queen Rajrajeshwari by exiling her to Helambu, where she became a Buddhist nun. After that, Bhimsen Thapa did not waste any time neutralizing anyone who could be a challenge to his authority. He killed members of Shah family and confiscated their property. On the night of 25th April 1806, Bahadur Shah held a meeting at Tribhuvan Kaur's house with the rest of the courtiers and his stepbrother Sher Bahadur Shah. There was a resentment and jealousy among the Sher Bahadur Shah and his factions. During the meeting, Rana Bahadur threatened to execute Sher Bahadur Shah. In desperation, Sher Bahadur drew a sword and killed Rana Bahadur Shah before being cut down by nearby courtiers. This triggered a great massacre in Bandarkhal. At the bank of Vishnupati river east of Kathmandu Darbar, all members of Sher Bahadur were beheaded and thrown by the banks of Bishnumati to be eaten by vultures and jackals. And Bhimsen Thapa killed everyone who did not agree with him or anyone who could potentially become a problem. The massacre lasted for about 2 weeks and total of 93 people lost their lives. Upon insistence of Bhimsen Thapa, Rana Bahadur Shah, then 30 years old, had married a 16-year-old named Tripura Sundari, who was the daughter of Bhimsen Thapa's brother Nayan Singh Thapa. Taking advantage of this, Bhimsen Thapa became the first Prime Minister of Nepal who did not belong to royal household. And he also made sure that all the wives of Rana Bahadur Shah to commit sati, and all the courtiers were replaced by the close relatives. The story will continue on the upcoming video, which I will be releasing next week. Make sure to check it out and hit that like button. Until then, see you next time.